When we look back on a World Cup years from now, it is rarely the scores we remember. It's the joy of a single goal, the tears of a defeat, a hope too big to fit inside a stadium. The 2026 World Cup, played across the vast arenas of the United States, Canada, and Mexico, didn't just crown a champion. It wrote stories of determination, of farewell, of solidarity, and of hope. Today, we tell the moments that lived in the shadow of the scoreline. Our story begins with an alarm clock, ringing at 4 in the morning. At just 17 years old, Dennis Undav was chasing a football dream in the lower leagues of Germany. And to make a living, he worked in a factory. 8-hour shifts, operating a laser machine. Because the money from football simply wasn't enough to live on. At 14, a club had shown him the door, telling him he was too small. But Undav never gave up. Years later, at 29, he stood on a World Cup pitch in the shirt of Germany. Coming off the bench, his goals carried his country. A late strike against the Ivory Coast, pushing his team into the next round. Germany's own run didn't last long. They bowed out in the round of 16 on penalties. But Undav's journey, from the factory floor to the world's greatest stage, reminded us of something simple. No dream is ever dead, no matter how late it arrives. As one new star was rising, an entire era was quietly drawing to a close. Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. For both, this was, in all likelihood, their final World Cup. Ronaldo's Portugal fell to Spain in the round of 16 and said their goodbye. Messi, on what may be the last great stage of his career, marched once more to a final. Millions of people who had watched these two names since their own childhoods felt the bittersweet pride of witnessing one last dance. Because some farewells are about far more than the result of a match. They are a generation saying goodbye to its own youth. This was also a tournament of the so-called small teams. Curaçao, appearing at a World Cup for the very first time, earned a historic point among the giants of the game. Nations with populations smaller than a single neighborhood stood fearless against opponents many times their size. South Africa moved past the group stage and into the knockout rounds, uniting an entire nation around a single moment of joy. The message of these teams was just one sentence: nothing is impossible. They may not have lifted the trophy, but they proved the most beautiful thing football can show us, that opportunity belongs to everyone. As one era closed, another was just beginning to open. 17-year-old Gilberto Mora of Mexico took his first steps towards stardom in front of his own people. And of course, the World Cup is not only a football tournament, it is a global festival. It began in the heart of Mexico, at the legendary Estadio Azteca, where people from different continents and different languages met in the same stands. And now we reach the end. On the 19th of July, before the final in New Jersey, a spectacular closing ceremony will take the stage. Stars will perform in a special moment before the crowd. On the pitch stand two giants, Spain and Argentina. Messi's Argentina, meeting Spain in what promises to be an unforgettable final. One day, this World Cup will come to an end, and a team will lift the trophy. But when we remember it years from now, perhaps it won't be the scores we recall. It will be the determination of a young man heading to a factory at 4 in the morning. The tears of small teams who dared to challenge the impossible. Because the true magic of football lies not in the numbers, but in the stories of the people.